The United States is not prepared for modern drone warfare, and that's a bit of a problem, to say the least. This isn't fun and games. It's life or death, and to be blunt, we're not moving fast enough. But we are taking some steps in the right direction, and this is one of them. This is footage from Battle Lab, a new show by Vet TV that pits former U.S. special operators against each other, forcing them to rapidly learn drone tactics that ideally can then be rolled out to the broader force. And this is unique. I mean, we essentially get to watch as some of our most elite warriors test out how they would use drones in a variety of combat scenarios. And in just the first episode, these guys start landing strike drones on rooftops to surprise and ambush enemy forces, which is a tactic being used in Ukraine right now with devastating results. Now, to give you an idea of how important this is, just last week, an article came out saying that NATO got our teeth kicked in by a few small Ukrainian drone teams during a recent exercise. In this article titled, "NATO has seen the future and is unprepared," they said the exercise, known as Hedgehog 2025, involved more than 16,000 troops from 12 NATO countries who drilled alongside Ukrainian drone experts, including soldiers borrowed from the front line. It simulated a contested and congested battlefield with various kinds of drones. They say a single team of some 10 Ukrainians, acting as the adversary, counterattacked the NATO forces. In about half a day, they mock destroyed 17 armored vehicles and conducted 30 strikes on other targets. An Estonian Defense League coordinator that was present at the event said, quote, the results were horrible for NATO forces. The adversary forces were able to eliminate 2 full battalions in a day, saying that NATO did not even get our drone teams. We are a long ways behind in a lot of different ways. And it's not just me saying that, or the Wall Street Journal, or even the countless Western volunteers fighting in Ukraine that drive that point home day in and day out, but even Jared. So Jared's one of the team leaders involved in Battle Lab, who, after the conclusion of the first episode, says the exact same thing. Hey, the old tactics that we used to use, they don't work here.
And then what seemed like a straightforward, at least for our military background, a straightforward direct action hit on what appears to be a pretty benign target was anything but that, right? Like from the outset, we applied the usual tactic of hit them hard right in the face, and then respond effectively from there. And that was so ineffective that we decided never to do it again.
Now, this video is brought to you today by Battle Lab and Vet TV. I've partnered with them to help get the word out about this new program, and honestly, I think it's a great concept. I mean, it's leveraging military experts in our private sector to innovate for the defense industry, but it's also put together by a couple close personal friends. Ethan Nagel and Chris Naganuma, 2 of the guys that helped this come together, were on the ground in Ukraine for Embed Actual, a great documentary series on Vet TV that just came out last year. Both are really solid guys, and I'm super proud of both of them for what they've done here. But let's go ahead and dive into episode 1.
In today's episode of the Battle Lab, we've built a scenario called Strong Point. Strong Point requires that one team occupy and defend a fixed position in a built-up area while the other team assaults. Each team will have 4 iterations or 4 reps on each side of the scenario, and there will be a time limit of 15 minutes. In today's Strong Point scenario, Team X-Ray will be led by Phil in black multicam.
For Team X-Ray, we'll be heavy with drones and standoff. I'll have Jack and myself, which will be the assault team. We'll be able to physically maneuver onto the arena. We'll be able to clear, seize, and hold terrain. I'll then have Jason and Mason, my 2 drone pilots, which will be employing ISR and strike platforms throughout the entire iterations. However, they cannot physically be in the arena. They'll have standoff. We'll also have small arms, grenades, and smoke.
Jared in green multicam will be leading Team Alpha.
Team Alpha will consist of myself, Adam, Ben, and Charlie, all of whom come from across the spectrum of U.S. military special operations, and all of whom I've deployed with to multiple different conflict zones around the world. Unlike Team X-Ray, we will not be equipped with exquisite emerging technology, but we're not going into this blind. We will have drone detectors and drone video interceptors that will help us maneuver on the battlefield, along with our normal loadout of small arms, grenades, and smoke.
All right, so I feel like the opportunities here are limitless. There's a lot of different directions this can go. It is worth stressing that there have to be some sort of parameters, right? There's limitations because they're trying to isolate the use of drones in the offense and the defense. So, one of the examples here, one of the teams has drones, the other one doesn't. 15-minute time window. Like, that definitely impacts how this can be done. But as you're watching, and we play through some of these clips here, keep in mind what you would like to see or what you think could make this better going forward, because I know the team there at Vet TV and at Battle Lab are still working on future iterations, and I don't know, share what you think. What can improve upon this concept? Maybe we'll get to see it in a future episode. But I'm going to jump right into Iteration 2. Iteration 1, a little sloppy. Be honest. Felt very much like just standard force on force. The drones were hardly utilized at all. Iteration 2, we started to see the drones incorporated a little bit more into the offense. Let's give that a watch.
X-ray 3, X-ray 1, moving to breach. All right, here we go.
At any time, any building could be a threat right now. So obviously we're trying to mitigate that by keeping them inside with having the drones flying around. So if they come out, there's a threat, but that's, you see us, we're just clearing windows and moving. Like, we're using speed as security right now.
Yep.
Yeah, that was me actually actively engaging with the drone. I was so distracted with that drone flying right over top of me, I didn't even see you guys move up on that building.
He's internal. All right, take this.
So in the first run through, Phil, you guys were on the X-ray team. You were trying to potentially tag out defense in that first 8-10 minutes. You weren't being deliberate in that same way, but you still had drones up. What are they doing?
Yeah, so right now they're looking for opportunities where they're distracted, and they're looking for opportunities to get in a window or an open door in order to eliminate a threat.
Ah, fuck. That's right. All right, go.
Yep. Yeah, I just took one in the ass right there.
Nice.
All right, so initial thoughts there is, first off, breaching with a drone. I feel like we haven't really seen that used hardly at all. So like, they open the door and they've got the FPV or the strike drone coming in and detonating inside. We got a lot of footage coming out of Ukraine. I feel like that level of coordination with infantry is not something we often see. A lot of times those guys are throwing frags or even landmines into the building, but I mean, I'm sure it's happened at this point, but the coordination involved there is pretty significant. Not really responsive, right? That clearly was something that was planned ahead of time. Also, didn't really see how, I mean, there's multiple drones being utilized by the assault team here, but we didn't really see the bombers brought into play at all. Recon drones, he said they were up looking around, but again, these early iterations, very limited on how they use drones, but over time, it comes together because they're kind of figuring this out in real time. And this is what I think is really cool about this show, right? We actually get to watch these guys kind of work through issues and develop situations or develop solutions and new tactics essentially on the fly. So one of those, a good example here, is Phil talking about how he gave strike authority to the drone teams. No more standing off and kind of directing them from the fight, but saying, hey, you guys, go hunting.
I think one of the important things to talk about with the tech stack with this is I gave approval from the get-go, back to iteration 1, to our drone team that if they saw a threat from Alpha Team, they had approval to just go ahead and strike. Right. So what you're not seeing me is like overly controlling them. Like they're basically, their primary weapon system is that drone and they're hunting with it and they have the ability to do it. And so that's a big game change. It's not like I'm acting like they're close air support and now I'm calling the strike every time. That would slow it down and we would lose the effectiveness of the drones almost entirely because it's so hard to take advantage of that split moment when Alpha Team exposes themselves.
So one of the reasons I wanted to show this is just to highlight one of the aspects of modern drone warfare that I think often gets overlooked. I mean, we spend so much time looking at the technology of these platforms and not nearly enough on how we need to adjust our processes to maximize the effectiveness of said technology. It does not make sense to have battalion, brigade, or division level approval for a strike drone. You're seeing how these guys need it right now, right? They start taking fire from the second floor. They need that strike drone to hit it now. They need those drone teams to have a degree of autonomy even. I mean, open up a kill box and say this is a free fire zone. Your set targets is any enemy armor, enemy artillery, or enemy infantry north of this line, right? That maximizes the use, maximizes the lethality of these drone teams. Every approval up the chain of command slows it down. All right, so we're going to jump forward a little bit now to iteration 5. We're going to have X-Ray on defense now, Alpha on the attack, so the opposite of what we had in iteration 1 through 4. And this is where the use of drones, in my opinion, really starts to come together.
X-Ray team, we're adapting our defense. We're tightening our sectors of fire. So now we have our humans that we have one in building 9, and then we have one close by in another structure, and then we have our drones in close in order to be ready to strike. But our drones are sitting on top of rooftops. We're trying to only use our ISR up loitering so that we mitigate your Alpha team's ability to see where they're at.
All right, I got to stop right there. So we just within the last week or two had some interviews with Ukrainian soldiers talking about how significant of a tactic this is. We're seeing both elements on the Ukrainian and the Russian side park drones forward. So many people are getting used to looking up and looking around, watching for those drones coming in, that they're landing them on the road or on the side of roads or on top of buildings and watching, right? It saves battery power. Those drones can stay there for a longer period of time. And then when you poke your head out because you do not hear the drone overhead, it takes off and all of a sudden you're in a bad spot. So really interesting to see how these guys pretty quickly got to that as a tactic to mitigate the enemy's ability to detect the drones overhead.
Yeah, during our entire maneuver up to the target building, it was obvious that the drones were not flying in the sky. So like, okay, how do we take our time now?
Something I wanted to point out here, you can see the drone on the tower there in the bottom right. So the tree line vegetation provides concealment, of course, to where it's harder to see these guys. Does not provide cover from direct fire, from like machine guns, but we have seen it be relatively effective in providing cover from drones. Not all drones can fly through that, and they will get tangled and fall. So just different types of cover and concealment with this new threat.
We're just massing drones now. Now it's just strike, strike, strike as you move to breach, and then we've got guys inside, and you saw Jack there. Jack then maneuvers from the other building in order to come there, and I'm just strong pointed inside of building 9.
Yeah.
And so now it's, hey, we got one guy left. We just got to eliminate that final Alpha team guy as he's trying to move in and clear. And we've got the advantage of humans, and we've got the advantage of drones right now.
That's dead.
All right, so I really like what Phil brought up there at the end, talking about massing drones on target. I think you can really see this play out and kind of progress through the iterations from 1 to 8. At the beginning, there were a lot of, like, the focus was direct fire engagements, kind of what these guys are used to, you know, direct action raids, kicking in doors, violence of action, and shooting guys in the face, for lack of a better term. By the end, we saw them leading with the drones to where those direct fire engagements were not all that common. And as soon as the guys did get within direct fire range, they were hearing a constant buzzing overhead and getting struck with drones left, right, and center. It's an entirely different battle that they created during the course of these 8 iterations. All right, so I think it's worth offering up a couple suggestions here, but I want to be careful because I love what these guys are doing. I think it's really important, and I don't want to take anything away from it. I mean, I want the Pentagon to watch this show. I want senior U.S. military officials to watch this show. I want drone and counter-drone companies to watch this show, call Vet TV, and say, hey, we've got some new technology. How can we incorporate it into future seasons? I think that would all be a net win. There are a couple things that stood out to me that I thought were worth bringing up. First off, it felt like it was a little too quick to go. Like, of course, you know, planning and rehearsals does not make for great TV. I got it. But it felt like some of the first iterations, the guys were kind of learning the technology rather than testing out tactics with the technology, if that makes sense. There really were not any counter-drone type options involved in this at all. I get that, you know, for starting out and just figuring out how to use the drones in an offensive manner. Maybe that's something that could be incorporated into future seasons. And then what about like a crawl, walk, run type model, right? That's the military to its core. Maybe this was the crawl phase, kind of introducing some of the new technologies. Phase 2 under the walk could be, counter drone is introduced. Maybe there's larger teams, longer planning cycles, so the guys could put a little bit more time into what they're going to do. And season 3 or phase 3 under run could be an even bigger element, company or platoon size forces, and maybe longer duration operations over a larger battlefield. I mean, I'd love to see how this could play out start to finish. Now, of course, be sure to check out Battle Lab on Vet TV. We just talked briefly through episode 1. Episode 2 talks about a contested exfil, which is pretty interesting. Episode 3 is a dedicated drone assault. Again, you really start to see these tactics evolve as these guys test them out with different iterations over different terrain. But that's all we got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.